Hello, good afternoon, my friend.
Hey, Farrin, how are you?
Hi, I hope you are staying safe and healthy in the comfort of your home. Welcome to another art conversation.
Thank you very much.
Uh, and I'm pleased to introduce today artist Zahra Jlayer. She's an artist as well as a physician pathologist. She's a doctor who creates. How interesting, right? Zara, we are so excited to have you today in our conversation and to hear about your work. How are you doing? How are you?
Hi, Farrin. Thank you very much for having me. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm doing great. I'm really doing great today. And the weather is good, everything is fine, finally.
Finally.
Zara, please tell us a little bit about yourself and how come you are a doctor and how you became interested in art.
I'm a pathologist by training and I'm an artist at heart. Actually, growing up in artistic environment, my dad was a self-taught artist. Growing up, just watching him doing painting, I fell in love with the painting when I was a kid. But I pursue medicine and I went to medical school. And after coming to United States, I finished my residency. I did pathology training, and then finally I come back to my passion again.
So your parents also, I mean, your father also is an artist, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay, and what type of a style he painting?
He was doing historical painting from Persepolis. He was doing oil painting on black velvet, and his work is really amazing, and it is historical mostly.
Yes, and why your style changed? I mean, when I saw your name actually in our list, I was expecting some traditional Persian art, like pattern, I don't know, miniature painting. Then I saw your website and I noticed your work are quite different with what I was imagining about your work. And then how you became interested in this type of art.
Right, you're right. I was doing classic painting when I was back home, and I sent a picture from 1996 for you. But here in New York, after I finished the residency, because I was working with microscope, yeah, this painting is from 1996 when I was in medical school.
Yeah.
And then when I started working on the microscope, looking at the human tissue in a cellular level, looking at under the microscope, it was like abstract art. You see cells, there are cell forming in a high power view of the microscope, and when you are on low power of the microscope, it's more look like looking at marble, layers of marble. And after I started to go back to art after graduation from pathology residency, I get more toward abstract art, and the whole working with the microscope changed my style completely. And being in New York and just exposed with modern art and Western culture, I think it has influence on my work.
Yeah, I can see that. Looking at your work and knowing that you are a pathologist, the first thing actually came to my mind before reading your statement and before knowing, like, why you're doing this type of art was human cell. And then even I was talking to a friend of mine and she saw your website. She emailed me, she said, her artwork looked like, human cell. I said, yes, actually, that's how she got inspired. So is there any other inspiration beside your profession? Is there any other inspiration for your work?
Yeah, I love nature. I really enjoy walking in the nature. It's have relaxing effect on me. When I'm going to nature, I try to capture the beauty that I see. For example, if I'm looking at the details of a stone, a colorful stone, a color of a flower, or looking at the beach, ocean, any scenes, I try to capture those beauties and try to transfer into my viewers with different language, color language. I use color language to communicate with people around me. And I think the origin of all beauties are in the nature. The
Exactly.
beauty, yeah,
So these are your inspiration. These are mostly your subject, the subject of your work, right? Nature and your work, your profession, and human cell, right?
right.
And yeah, so I mean, you said your work also changed from being like, from that type of art we saw, like, one of example to abstract art. Is there anyone you following, any inspiration, any person like, inspired you in abstract art besides, you seeing that under microscope and etc.
Halton Rower was one of the artists that I really admire his work, especially his art performances. He's really a great artist, and he had some influence on my work, and I try to do performing art as well. Uh, I doing a performance about 6 hours in Shashamagala. I performed in 2017 and 2018. Are unfortunately this year got canceled due to COVID-19. But hopefully next year I'm gonna perform as a art performance, live painting, abstract painting again.
Yeah, I hope so. We all hoping like, thing goes back to normal soon.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you're creating, this is kind of new for me too, and I'm sure many other friend of ours, which they watching today and they're hearing, they want to know. Is that like, when you creating an artwork, you start the work as it come to your mind, or you have a concept ahead of time? Did you sketch something, what you're going to do, then start, or you just starting pouring the art and then creating something?
At the beginning, when I have started this kind of work, I lost my dad. And when I was in the grief, I tried to just use bold colors, intense colors. And when I start pouring, I try to get my energy from those paints and colors. And it was like charging my batteries,
Yeah.
uplifting my mood. It For example, I have a painting called Exotic Marble. It just blue and red, and it was giving me a lot of energy. But after I passed that period of grief, I'm going more to our natural. For example, when I try to do marble, I use natural colors, uh, not the exotic one,
Yeah. So that
recently.
it's like, depend on your mood, right?
Exactly.
How you feeling. So you don't like, plan ahead of time, right? You don't like, have ahead of time. Okay, I'm going to use this type of color today. I'm going to create, I don't know, a stone or something, image of a stone.
Yeah.
You just do what it come to your mind or how you feel.
Not recently. For my solo exhibitions, I plan a couple of months ahead.
Okay.
I prepare in my mind what I'm gonna do, what's the subject of my exhibition, and I try to have a selection and prepared mind.
Okay.
Mm, But always you have surprises in poor art. You can get what you have planned in your mind exactly. You have always surprises.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite difficult to control it, right? When you
Exactly.
going through it out, it's very difficult to control it. So since like, for myself at least, I would like to know, and then I don't know much about this fluid art. I would like to know the process, like, would you explain like, the process of this creating and making this like, fluid and pouring out?
I use acrylic paint for my painting, and I use mostly fluid acrylic. I mix it with water or some pouring medium, in different pouring medium I use, and uh, and I start to making, for example, if I have a smaller piece, it doesn't need a lot of time for preparing the paint. But if, for example, if I'm doing a 48 inch, for example, like this painting that I have here, I should set a couple of hours for preparing the paint that I want. For example, the scale that I want, how much dark color, how much white color, how many shades I want to use, and the proportion of the shades. And unfortunately, it's not relaxing on the larger piece, like the smaller piece. Yeah, in a smaller piece, you can have just fun and use uh, just be happy doing that. But in larger piece, no, you just should be focused and keep track of which paint you are using right now, which come and the next. You can control it when you pour it on the
Yeah.
surface.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I mean, I have a short video actually of your work I'm going to play. That's just to see, like, it's like, it's just little of the process of, like, the work you're doing. I have it here, which everyone can see.
The science behind this fluid art, I call it fluid art, is that it's all related to fluid dynamic. It depends on the density of paints. Some are lower density, some are higher density. High density paints going down, low density paint coming up. And it's really complicated to predict how it's gonna look at the end, but a good visual artist can develop an understanding of by trial and error. He can predict what he gonna get, which palette she or he is using, and what results she or he gonna get.
Yes, that's true. So, since, as I said, this is kind of artwork for me, which is like, I never tried. I personally don't know how much, what's the process and everything. After you finish the work, okay, I guess it takes some time to dry, right? And
Mhm.
then what's the next step? First of all, how long it takes to dry? And second, what you do after it dry? Are you seal it with something? Are you varnish it with something? I mean, this is the question. Also, I was friend of mine was checking your website. She also sent me this question, and she said, how she get this glossy, shiny surface on some of her paintings.
Right. It depends on the size, how long it get dry. When I'm doing paint in 20 minutes, the paint start to dry, and I should be fast as much as I can. But it take about larger pieces, even get 3-4 days to dry out. And for finishing that, I mostly use resin, and for just seal the painting, and the shiny look is due to resin.
Okay, okay, okay. I'm in love with resin painting. I was recently actually checking an artist. She's Italian artist. I can't really pronounce her name. It's something like Angelique and Analigia. I can't pronounce it. Boreto, and
Mm.
her work is insane. I mean, some artists in my idea are gods. You know, God or goddesses. The type of art they creating, it's something exactly like God doing, I mean, so for me, like, this Italian lady who's doing this type of art with resin and all other materials she uses are insane. And they're all like, she's a goddesses to me in that media. And I really, really want to try. So this is like, my summer project to learn how to do this type of art. Anyway, what is people reaction or responses to your work?
It's really amazing. People really has really very severe emotional responses to the work. As I observe it in myself at the beginning, when I have low mood, low energy, I start to work with some bold, intense colors, my mood lift up. I was seeing in myself that I have really strong emotional responses. And when I start doing this, observe it in the viewers, I become curious and search for the answer in neuroscience. And actually, I found the answer in Dr. Eric Kandel's book. He's a professor of neuroscience. He's a Nobel Prize winner in this field. He explained that the color by itself has an extraordinary ability for provoke emotional responses in human brain. It doesn't matter if you use color with the lines, with the forms, or you just use colors. It has a really extraordinary ability. And I really watch that in people, especially when I'm doing live performing art. I can see that emotion in the people's eye and their
And
faces.
the reaction, right? Because of color and
Yeah.
the fluid art, actually, it's kind of probably, I mean, at least for myself, it makes me smile,
Yeah,
means
exactly.
your mood also change kind of, I think.
That's really true.
Yes, yeah. So what do you think, what you're doing these days, I mean, in social distancing and this pandemic, and what do you think and artists can do in this situation, and what you yourself doing in this situation?
It's really difficult time for everybody in the whole universe, but let's look at half full glass. There is really there is a lot of time to concentrate, to be alone with ourselves, and artists can really take advantage of this confinement period to go deep into themselves. I tried to do that myself. I started 30-day painting in 30-day series. Yeah, this is one of my painting. I started to do 30 painting, just a smaller piece, 80 by 10 rectangular canvas, and I try to put everyday painting next to the day before and see the changes and see what pleased me more in this painting and what I don't like in this one. And the day after, I try to uh, extend what I like and omit what I don't like in the painting.
Mhm.
And I really got a good result, and I got good responses from my followers as well. It was really pleasing.
So this is, for example, is one of those you don't like, like it's like the
Yeah,
color and mixture, and
these are
these are probably because you can't go to beach and you don't have access to some recreation and public beaches, so you create this beach sense in your artwork, right? No, no.
I live in a place that I have access to the beach.
Oh, okay.
I think that influenced my work. Yeah.
But the beaches are closed, right? I mean, especially
Yeah.
in New York City. I know you're living in Westchester somewhere, and then so the
Yeah.
beaches and all around the New York, at least the beaches still are closed. So we don't have access. At least we can create and look, right?
Thank God I had the blessing being next to the water. I
Oh,
can
all right.
enjoy.
That's good opportunity. At least you can
Yeah.
look it from the window or from your backyard.
Yeah. Exactly.
So is there any particular message in your work? I mean, I was looking at some of your artwork earlier. Let me actually play it here. I know each work has some, you said, based on your mood, based on your feeling, I mean, most abstract artists actually, they do the same thing. But there are some particular artwork, which when I scanned through your artwork, I found them interesting. And I said, probably they had some, the reason for behind that, and there are some message and there are some symbols in that, or your work has some particular message, or like you're following a goals for your work.
Yeah,
Or for example, I like this one, the one we just seen in screen.
right. As a pathologist and artist, like scientist and artist, I had this advantage to work in both fields. This painting per se is from one international exhibition with the origin of this painting is this picture in the right side. It's a neurosphere picture under the microscope by a group of neuroscientists in Mount Sinai. And this this picture was in Art of the Brain exhibition in 2018 edition of Mount Sinai exhibition. And it was inspiration for me to do this painting, which is one of the techniques that I developed myself with fluid art, but it's not just using gravity. It's not with the gravity, and it's get into the international exhibition in England and New York here in Cambridge Institute of Stem Cells, and here in New York. I forgot the New York Hall of Science. Uh, it's a group of scientist artists around the world. They make a sci art group, and they are both working in both places. As it's my message to bridge art with the science somehow.
So you're creating a relationship between science and art.
Yes, exactly.
Is this the same technique as your other work, or like the same material and the same technique, or you use different?
Same material but different technique. In other work, I use gravity. Then they are flat surface, but this one I didn't use a flat surface.
Okay.
It's mostly not gravity.
All right. So how about this one? This is like, peace, and we see the symbols of peace in the center, which is, are you you created this for particular exhibition or shows, or like it's just something for yourself?
No, it was
chaos of, in the world.
Yeah, it's the same technique as the previous one, but fluid acrylic again. And it was prepared for a project here in New Rochelle. We had some violence in the high school, unfortunately, and we have an art movement during the fall. It's like a festival. For weekend long, we have music, we have um, open studios, everything you can find around the corner in a week. It's really art-oriented city, New Russia. And this piece purposefully made for this peace project in the high school to just raise the awareness of that unhappy accident that we had in the New Rochelle High School.
Yeah, so we all need a piece of, like, we all need peace, in this world, this world of, like, chaos. This is really a peaceful message to send peace.
Yeah.
So as I'm always asking this question, is there any memorable responses to your work you can remember, like, during, like, all these years you're working as an artist?
Yeah, I always remember the first painting that I saw. I think it's some memorable stuff usually in the history of every artist, right?
Yes, yes, that's true, right? I'm sure everyone agree. The first art you sell, you remember, like forever.
I
It's
was
happiest memory.
yeah, I was performing live painting during Shashamagala in 2017, and everybody come and take a look, ask question, and a lady come with two beautiful daughter, and they started to show their emotion. Wow, it's so beautiful, and all of them said that, oh, it's really fit for that. And the other girl say the same thing, and the mother said, oh yeah, let's get it for your dad. And it just happened for a really good price. First painting that I was doing live in my first show, it was really good experience and a good beginning for me.
Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure it's really good
And
experience.
she was CRBE, a real estate chief, CEO, and uh, the chief of real estate in Manhattan. That's why I remember it.
So, is there any particular dream projects you like to do now or in future?
Yeah, of course. As I said, my goal is bridging between art and science. I'm thinking having a project, just the whole thing be in the both sides, just some subject in the science, especially neuroscience, and by the beauty of art, I try to transfer the message that I have. I'm working on it mentally, but it takes time.
Yes, I'm sure it takes time, right? I mean, art, creating meaningful and beautiful art always
Yeah.
takes long time. My work in particular, I mean, like not beautiful as yours. It takes years, sometimes year or 2 years to finish. So it's crazy.
Art
Everyone has their own style and their own concepts for making art. All
Your
right.
really beautiful. I enjoy your art, really.
Thank you
And I
very
should
much.
get your book.
Yeah, mine are very traditional,
Yeah.
because I used to design carpets, since I was 13 years old. So it's mostly you see those carpet pattern and carpet design in my work still. So it's just it just start like something different, and I still end up to those pattern I used to do from childhood. So that's why it takes a long time. All right. Do you have any final word for our today guest and our today art lover?
Um, uh, just I can finish by a sentence by Rumi, uh, and say he said, "Your task isn't to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it." We all artists know how love is really the central of our being, our works, our communication. And let's, in this time, we can go deeper and try to uh, clean this barrier that we made.
Yes, that's true. That's true, Zara. I agree with you 100%. Okay, so this is the end of this week art conversation with Zara. Zara, we are so pleased to be with you today. We really enjoy and we learn a lot from your artwork and from your life as artist and as doctor stories. So if you have any question, any suggestion, any comment for Zara, or you want to reach out to Zara, this is her website, as you see here in the screen, zahrajlayer.com. She has amazing artwork in her website, and you can reach out. And as usual, if you have any question for me and for Nava, you can email us at office@thenova.org. And don't forget to add in subject line, art conversation with Farrin. Enjoy your weekend. As it's funny to say weekend, right? We have 3 months weekend. So it's like really, we are in weekend all the time. But enjoy your Memorial Day weekend and stay safe and strong. Love you all. Bye. See you next week, next Friday.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.